Next, we're going to take a look at the HTML tab settings. I'll just go click on that tab, and this is going to control the HTML page that Flash writes for us. Now, before we even get going on this one, I do like to say that we don't have to use an HTML file at all. If my user has a Flash player or a Flash plugin in their browser, we can link them directly to Swift files, and they'll play, but they'll show up shoved up in the upper left-hand corner, and you won't be able to add things like backgrounds or email links or basically anything to the page. So pretty much everybody uses an HTML file. If you have Flash write it, we'll set up all the settings right here. And basically when you go back and look at the HTML, what we're doing is we're changing attribute settings that are available on the tags that are used to host the Swift movie file. Let's start at the top and roll down. The first thing is looking at the templates. Now I've got a basic one for Flash only, and we've got a number of other ones in here. If we look at these ones down at the bottom for AICC tracking or SCORM, those are basically e-learning templates. If you're using your Flash movies for a learning management system and trying to track student data, you'll hook up to one of these. They're fairly specialized, so if you're not doing that, you won't use them at all. We've got some here for devices like Pocket PC. We can do an HTTPS, which actually creates a secure web page. And we've also got this one here, which is Flash only, but it allows full screen. Now, I'm going to select this one because it shows you how to use a feature of our video files that we saw earlier. So I'm going to turn on full screen here, and I'm just going to click OK. That'll save our changes to the settings. And let's see where we can use that full screen setting. Let's move down in our timeline till we find the exhibition section, and that's where we have our video. I'll go ahead and click on that layer there, and there's my video. Now, I'm going to deselect everything just to make sure I have only the video selected. And let's go take a look at our component inspector. Now, what I wanted to do is take a quick look at one of the skins that we can use. We'll go to the skin setting here, and I'll click on the magnify button so we can reselect a skin. Pull that into the middle. We selected one originally for the over setting. That's going to put it on top of our video, and it has a play, seek, and stop button. Now, let's add one for the full screen. Here I've got a play, seek, full screen mode. Now, that full screen button is just like YouTube. You can click on it and expand the video up to fill the entire screen. Your user will just have to press the escape key to go back to the normal video. Once we click OK, it's going to substitute that skin for our old one the next time we publish or compile our Swift. Now, you won't be able to test this in the normal test movie settings either. This has to be out in a browser in order to see it work. Let's go back to our publish settings, and we'll see what else we can do. Now I've got that set up here for allow full screen, so that's going to work with our files. Right underneath it, we have a checkbox that allows you to add JavaScript that will detect a Flash player version. Now if you check that box, it'll allow you to type in the exact version of the player that your user has to have in order to play your movie back. It will also add in links that will direct the user of how to go and get that version if they don't have it. Now it's up to you whether you want to use this or not. I generally would suggest that you try it out and make sure you test your movie and your HTML file on a machine that does not have a Flash player installed, and that way you can see exactly how your users are going to be handled. I'm going to leave it off for now, but like I said, go ahead and give it a try if you'd like and see how it's going to affect the files once we try our publish settings once. After that, we've got some size controls. You can actually make a Flash movie scale. You can make it smaller or larger than you originally intended, or you can set it up as a percentage value, and it will simply move with the size of the screen. Most people are leaving them at match movie, though, and setting up the size that they want their movie to be displayed. It's a little difficult if your user has a tiny browser, and then you might end up with tiny, unreadable text on your screen that nobody would be able to read. So once again, it's kind of up to you. Now in the playback options, we can add controls that will stop the looping behavior, but this is only for the main timeline. Now we handled our looping using a little bit of ActionScript in our movie, and that's usually what I do. This checkbox will only control the main timeline, and if you needed to control looping within your movie for content management, or just to make a movie clip stop working, you'd still have to use the ActionScript. Then we've got some settings for quality. Now, in the old days of Flash, I might have dropped this down to a lower quality just to make my movies play better on slower machines, but I basically don't touch it anymore. I'm going to leave it at high almost all the time. Window mode is primarily used by people who want to set up Flash movies that have transparent backgrounds, and you would just choose transparent windowless for that. That's used in a lot of banner ad situations where you've got an element dropped into a normal HTML page, but we'll leave ours set to window right now. After that, we've got some alignment settings, and generally people get confused about these because they're not exactly what you think. First of all, the alignment's just going to control content. So it's not going to control the position of the movie on the page. And our flash alignment at the bottom actually only comes into play when your user has a browser window that's smaller than your movie file, and it controls where your movie is going to be sitting. We'll leave all these settings as we see them right now, and actually later in this chapter we're going to go take a look at the same HTML page in Dreamweaver. And if you've got Dreamweaver to use, these settings are a lot easier to mess with. Plus, we can add a lot more to the HTML than we can do right here inside of Flash. So I'm going to leave the settings as they are, and we'll go back to our Formats page.